Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. This evening we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized. So actually H.G.Debananda Prabhu, I think he's not well, so Mataji requested me to give the class. Verse number 29. Asharyavat pashyati kashidena. Asharyavat pashyati kashidena. Asharyavad vadati tanaiva chanya. Asharyavad vadati tanaiva chanya. Tataiva chanyam. Asharyava chainam anya shrunoti. Asharyava chainam anya shrunoti. Shrutvapya vedana chaiva kasye. Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kasye. Asharyavat pashyati kashidenam. Asharyavadati tanaiva chanya. Tathaiva chanya. Asharyavachainam anya shrunoti. Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kashyan. Asharyavat pashyati kashidenam. Asharyavad vadati tathaiva chanya. Asharyavachainam anya shrunoti. Shrutvapyayenam vedana chaiva kashyan. Asharyavat pashyati kashidenam. Asharyavat pashyati hridayanyam. Asharyavat anya shrunoti. Sitvapi daiva kasyet. Asharyavat pashyati kashidenam. Asharyavat vadanti tathaiva chanyam. Asharyavat chainam anya shrunoti. Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kasyen. Asharyavat pashyati kashidenam. Asharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya. Asharyavat chainam anya shrunoti. Shrutvapenam vedana chaiva kasyen. Asharyavat, as amazing. Pashyati, sees. Kashid, someone. Enam, this soul. Asharyavat, as amazing. Vadanti, speaks of. Tatha, thus. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Anya, another. Asharyavat, similarly amazing. Cha, also. Enam, this soul. Anya, another. Shrunoti, hears of. Shrutva, having heard. Api, even. Enam, this soul. Veda, knows. Na, never. cha, and eva, certainly, kashid, someone. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Someone looks on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing, and some hear him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Purport. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of the Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Kata Upanishad 1.2.7. Shrutvapi bhaudha viryo na labhyah shrunvantopi bhavato yam na vidyo asharyo vakta kushalasya labdha asharyosya gyatva kushalaschitah. The fact that atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. Men with poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the great authority of knowledge, who imparted lesson even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence, perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution to the material miseries. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes owing to ignorance they are misguided by acceptance of super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul and the atomic soul, their respective function and relationships, and all other minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the great authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunimlitam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's a very interesting verse. So here what we find. So Krishna is explaining again the soul as amazing. So in 4 different aspects, so what you here see, Ashcharyavat. See, it comes here 4 times. What Krishna explains. So the first understanding, the soul is amazing in a conscious sense. All of you are getting? In a conscious sense. Amazing means how the soul is a conscious matter. So the second aspect is moving. The soul is all pervading and is also moving. It is not stagnant. So the third aspect of understanding the soul is consciousness. Sorry, not consciousness. The third aspect is, explaining. All can't explain about the soul. And fourth, Krishna explains that everyone in material world can't understand. Everyone in most of the people, 99.9% of the people, they can't understand. Even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So we'll try to understand today how Krishna is explaining about the soul, how it is amazing. So now here what we see, we have heard many times, the soul, the size of the soul. So we know what is the size of the soul. In today's scientific technology, so far we have not done a big research on this matter, how to see the soul. So in today's microscopes, we can see the tiniest object, Kesha Garashat Bhagasya, what we explain, that the hair is split into 100 part, that 100 part is again split into 100 part. So that is the size of the soul. So today's microscope, all of you know, electronic microscope, you can split a hair into 270 size. Only 270, not beyond that. They don't have that microscope to divide. So whatever it is. So here, the understanding what should have. So the soul, even Prabhupada explains, even if it is in the biggest body, a whale or elephant or a banyan tree, or if it is in a microbe. All of you know microbe means like when you have a curd. In this thing, curd, there are millions of germs, bacteria. So the size of the soul is same, irrespective it is in a banyan tree or in other tree. So sometimes many people they ask, how many souls are there in one body? Because there are so many germs in our body, isn't it? There are so many viruses and other things, so many insects and other things are also in our body. So, but there is one principal soul, which is situated in the heart. So, other souls, they are different. Even the body decays, so many germs, they are born in the body, in the decayed body. So, they are different. But the understanding we should have is that a minute soul, a tiny soul, which is 1,000 part of the tip of the hair, either if it is in a big gigantic tree or animal or micro, the size is 1. So now most of our electronic gadgets, what we see, we run on 230 supply, 50 hertz. That is what is supply we give. But within inside the gadget there is this thing, some capacitors are given, how much electricity is required for a mobile, for a computer, for a LCD player. So there are different capacitors provided, so they take only that much energy. But whereas we see here, what Krishna explains, the soul, the first part we are going to understand, how we can say that how the soul is amazing, in consciousness wise. The soul is always conscious, that we should know. As per material scientists, what is their understanding, there are combination of matters. When the matters don't react, then the body is dead. That is there clinically. They say clinically dead. When a person dies, one in what hospital, what they will explain, is clinically dead. They will not say the soul is gone. They will never explain, tell you that a soul has left the body. No. So what they say, clinically dead. But the soul can be recalled. In the Puranas there are many stories. Like Narad Muni, what we see, there is a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam about King Chitraketu. So when Chitraketu, actually he was not destined to have a son. But somehow one time, one Muni was visiting his house, and he told the Muni, I have so millions of wives, but I have no one son. Putrahinam graham andakupam. He said, my house, there is no charm, no happiness without a son. So why don't you do something and get me one son? So this way, somehow he got one son, and the other co-wives, they became very envious, and they poisoned this boy, small boy, who was just maybe 3 months old. So when the nurse saw her eyes upside down, so she started beating her heart. The queen came running, the king got the news. So the entire kingdom, they were in complete sorrow because of the death of the child. So what happened? Narad Muni, along with the other Muni, they came there to see what is happening there. So it is mentioned that when Narada he came, just he put his hand on the chest of the soul, the dead body, and he said, okay, wake up, come back to life. So that boy, he sat in his bed and he said, I don't belong to any parents. I had so many parents in different lives. So his consciousness came back. So what we see, basically the consciousness is a very amazing thing. So we can't put any consciousness on our own. Even if we create in material world big car, gigantic aeroplanes, we can't make them fly. Even if you make a remote plane, that has to have a person putting that remote. Nowadays in India, Pakistan border, they are using some remote planes. But there's not a human being in that plane. Small planes they make just for espionage. So in material world, you make anything. There is nothing which acts on its own. Nothing can act. So either there is some memory has to be there. There are certain phones. They can give alarm. Even you switch off the phone, they can give alarm and they can switch on their own, switch off on their own. So these are all certain kind of PCBs are put in that. So the soul, we should know, the soul is always existing. Also in the scripture it is mentioned, the soul is sarvagataha, all pervading. All pervading means it is everywhere, either in the fire, air, water, land. So here, what we see in the Bhagavatam also, Krishna explains in 9th chapter, Paschame Yogam Aishwaram. That means Krishna explains to Arjuna, Krishna is telling, now you see all my Aishwaryas, Vibhutis. So similarly here what we see, the soul, although it is in one part of the body within the heart, but it is completely, making the body conscious. It is making the complete body conscious. So also Prabhupada gives a different example. In a small room, a small lamp can light the small room. But in a large room, the light can't give adequate lighting. So, but here the soul is different thing. The soul, although it is in a big body, in the body of an elephant, but that body it is making conscious. One time Prabhupada in America, he was taking a morning walk. And in the harbor, if you see in the ocean, there are big ships. They are very huge, 50, 60,000 ton ships. There's one big ship. It can carry 40,000 containers. I don't know what is container. In the railway, each one railway can carry 40 containers, 40 wagons. So there is one ship, largest ship in the world. So this carries 40,000 containers. We can't imagine. It's very big, like 400 meter. Usually the big ships, oil tankers, they are very large. Sometimes they are 500 meter. But when they come to the harbor, they can't run their engine because they will smash the harbor. So there is no use of that ship in the harbor. So what happens? When they come to the harbor, they make the engine idle. Then there are small tugboats. There are small ships. They are very tiny. And they push that ship to the jetty. Jetty means where the ship is stationed. Then there are cranes. Then they take out the containers like that. So although that ship is so big, but it is made idle when it comes to the harbor. but a small tug ship, 2 or 4 tug ships, they are pulling it to the side of the harbor. So similarly, what we see, it is so much amazing in the material world. So Prabhupada, he gives one story, very, very nice story. We can understand, very simple story Prabhupada explains. So one time, Narad Muni, he was visiting one village. And in that village, he met 2 people. One was a cobbler and one was a Brahmana. So what happened, Narad Muni, he told, I am going to Vaikuntha. Do you have any message for Lord Vishnu? So the cobbler, he said, okay, nice. If you are visiting Lord Vishnu, just ask Vishnu when I will be liberated. That's my question. So then he went to the Brahmana. So he also put same question. You ask Lord Vishnu when I will be delivered from this world. So this way Narada, he went to Vaikuntha. And when Narada arrived in Vaikuntha, he put up the question to the Lord. So the Lord, he told, okay, what you tell them when you go back. Then when I went in Vaikuntha, I saw that Lord, he was taking out an elephant from a needle eye of the needle. So this is a very amazing thing. How you can take out elephant from a needle of an eye. Not in material world, today's world, no one will believe it. So Narada, Lord Vishnu told Narada that you will come to know from their answer, their understanding, how much they have faith in me. So after some times, what happened? Narad Muni came back to that village and he first went to the Brahmana. So Brahmana, he didn't have complete faith in the Lord. And Narad Muni, he told, see, one amazing thing I saw when I went to Vaikuntha. The Lord was trying to pull a needle from the eye of a needle. So the Brahmana started laughing. He said, how come you say, Narad Muni, did you really go to Vaikuntha? I don't believe what you are speaking. This is impossible. How it can happen that just taking an elephant, pulling an elephant from the eye of the needle? I don't think you went to Vaikuntha. So Narada got the answer because this Brahmana, he didn't have any faith. So then Narad Muni, he went to the cobbler, and this cobbler, he used to sit underneath a banyan tree. Prabhupada here gives the example of a banyan tree. And when Narad Muni went to him, he received him very nicely. And Narad Muni again, he told him the same thing. And he told Lord Vishnu was trying to pull an elephant from the eye of the needle. So some tears came from the eyes of that cobbler, and he said, the Lord is, he can do anything amazing. He said, what the Lord can't do. So Narada said, do you really believe what I said? He said, why not? I am sitting underneath such a big tree. This is such a big tree, and this tree has a tiny fruits. And from a tiny fruit, this much big tree can come. Now today's world, we are having all these electronic gadgets. We have super phone, many other varieties of phone. So just 50 years back, anyone knows the computer was the size of one house. The computers, they were the size of one big house. Just 50 years back. And even 50 years back, if you see the playing gramophone, anyone has seen LP records? It was like a chapati, big round. Nowadays you have a microchip. In that microchip you can put in GB, not MB. Olden time there used to be like the first records of Prabhupada on Apple company, what they produced. It was a gramophone record. So those, if you see those things, they were so big. Now if someone comes to life, back to life, one who lived 50 years back, so whatever he sees, everything is amazing for him. Like when the railways came to India, and a long back, about 200 years back. So what Indian used to think, in the engine there are horses, and they are covered, and the horses they are running, and in the behind the bogies they are being pulled. They didn't have that faith. There is an engine. The engine can pull the railway. What they thought, because they have always seen the horses. So what they felt, they are hiding the horse in the engine, and the horses they are running. So this was long back, because they never had a concept of an engine when the railways first came to India. Similarly, when about 100 years back, when the movies came to India, so they were fearful to go and see the movies. What they felt, this is something, miracle. How can this thing can happen? Moving images and all. So what we see in material world, if we hear Ramayana and Mahabharata, there are so many amazing aspects. Like Arjuna, he could fight with 2 hands. They are called Maharathi. Even Bhima, he had the power of 10,000 elephants. In today's world, how many people can believe this? That today's elephants, they are Kali Yuga elephants. But during that period of time, the elephants must have been very big. So now, it is very difficult to understand a person having the power of 10,000 elephants. Even Dhritarashtra had that same power, having the power of 10,000 elephants. So Arjuna, if we see many warriors, they had the power to fight with thousands of people. Mahabharata war, practically if you see, like Arjuna could shoot multiple arrows at a time. And nowadays we have machine guns, in 1 second they can fire 10 bullets. Okay, whatever it is. So today's world, whatever we have scientific knowledge, this is different. Like 200 years back, people never believed. When the Wright brothers, they were trying to fly, people used to laugh at them. Oh, fools, only birds can fly. Come on, don't endeavor for this. So they were told like that. When they were trying to make the aeroplane, so they used to put some wings on the back and they used to try to fly. So people, the farmers, during that period of time, the technology was not there. So people were laughing. But the soul, which is there in the body, so the understanding should be that a soul can do anything amazing. As long as the consciousness allows him to do anything, he can do anything amazing. So in the material world today, what we see, there are 7 wonders. How many wonders are there in the material world? There is one wonder here, Taj Mahal. Anyone knows? 7 wonders of the world, what we say. So these are man-made only. So a human being can make so many wonderful things in the material world. So what is there in our body? That is the soul. So the soul is so much this thing amazing because of that consciousness. When Prabhupada went to America, MIT, so the first question was, are you studying about the soul? They had 250 faculties. They said, we are not studying anything about soul. So this is the thing in material world today. Although today's world, we have all explanation of everything, how things are working. There are books called Britannica Encyclopedia. They can explain how the aeroplane flies, how the ship moves, how the engines, combustion, anything, how the microphone works, everything they can explain. But there is no explanation what is soul. That is the unfortunate thing in the material world. So we should know that Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 15.10, Pashyanti Jnana Chakshusha. Jnana Chakshusha means one who has eyes of knowledge, not the brain with knowledge, one who has eyes of knowledge. So when a person leaves the body, so it is simple in India, what they say, yes, this fellow has left the body. So many people, they say Vaikuntha Vasi. Vaikuntha Vasi means he has gone to, their understanding is that he has gone to Vaikuntha or late so and so, Mr., Mrs., whatever it is. So most of the people have the understanding, yes. So he has achieved a higher destination. So we should know that only who has a spiritual understanding, what we see, most of the Prabhupada lectures, what Prabhupada has given lecture, they are related with soul only. So one time some Prabhupada disciples, they were telling Prabhupada, now we have heard enough about the soul. So Prabhupada said, no. Now you have not understood anything about the soul so far. So because what happens, like after coming to spiritual life also, so it is very difficult to come to the understanding that we are not this body. So many people, even after coming to spiritual life, 30, 40 years also, very difficult to come out of this consciousness. Very difficult. It's not so easy. So here, the first aspect of understanding the soul is that the soul is not a matter. It is a spiritual thing and it is always conscious. Soul is always conscious. So Krishna explains, the first thing is that the soul is conscious. Then second, it is amazement is moving. The soul is not stagnant thing. Like this building can't move. Recently I was reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada explains that in material world, the trees, the creepers, they can't move. But in the spiritual world, they can move. In the spiritual world, the trees, they can move from one place to another place. For the pleasure of Krishna, they can move. That's very difficult. Here, if I tell someone this thing can happen there, no one will believe me. Because nobody has seen the trees moving in material world. So material world, what is there today? Seeing is believing. And what the scientists, what they are doing, they are telling something about some phenomena. And what people they think is, what they are explaining is the truth. But whatever they are doing, they are always seeing certain facts and they are trying to copy that. So here, the moving consciousness means the soul is moving in different species of life. So now what Prabhupada explains, 84 lakhs species of life, they are created as per our consciousness. 84 lakh species, Krishna didn't make for, just to make a laboratory and you put all the 84 lakh species of life, not like that. So 84, Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita, 84 lakh species are created according to our consciousness. What consciousness we have. So according to that, the 84 lakh species are created. So in material world, the scientists can't understand how these 84 lakh species are created. And among that, 4 lakh, of course, they are human beings. So our understanding should be that the soul is moving. It is not bound to one place. The soul is always moving from one body to another body. Dehi nosmin yatha dehi. So Krishna although explains in the second chapter 2.13. So the body changes, but so the soul is same. But the soul changes, takes another body. Bhagavad Gita 13.22 Krishna explains, Karmana daivi netrena jantur deho upabaddhade. In material world there are many foolish people, what they say, you can't change the seed. There are certain followers, they also speak about Gita, what they explain, that Swamiji, the one seed, this wheat, how this wheat can get into another seed. The wheat will always remain wheat. So, but for them it is very difficult to understand. The soul is different from the wheat. So the soul, when the wheat is there is no soul in the wheat. When you germinate the wheat, and there is some environment is created. So like I germinate wheat. So you have to put the wheat in the water, then it will germinate. Then the soul will come in that body of the wheat. Otherwise, it is a matter only. The seed is just matter. So, an environment is created. So, there is a need of air, there is need of water. So, after germination, so that you have to put in the soil, there is another environment is needed. So, the understanding should be that, yes, the soul is according to his karma, his association. Bhagavad Gita Krishna explains, so according to one's consciousness and association, the soul is moving in different species of life. So we are taking different bodies. This is the second understanding, that soul is sarvagataha and all pervading, it is always moving. Then third understanding is that the soul is, Krishna explains here, that it is amazing to someone as amazing. Amazing means that soul, it can do varieties of activities. It is not that a soul can do only one thing of thing. When a soul is taking different kind of body, like a cow can produce cow dung, cow can produce milk. So similarly, that soul, a soul enters the body of a silkworm, it can produce silk. So this way what we see in this material world, so when the soul, it enters one kind of body, so it is making amazing things. Like there are certain souls, insects, they are born in the cow dung and they go into the earth and they make the earth fertile. So now you see there are some worms which are there within the earth, earthworms they are called. So they eat the cow dung and they make a nice manure. So in material world, what we see, there are 84 lakh species of life, and they are all souls only. They are having different bodies, but they are doing amazing things. Like you see a snake. How come it is producing the poison? There is certain thing in its body. There is certain mechanism. So you see so many trees are there. Lemon tree, it will give you citric fruit. Mango tree, different smell, different taste. So if you see in material world, different seeds, these are all produced by Krishna only. Krishna explains, Aham Bija Pradapita. So but we should know, here the third amazing aspect is that the soul is capable of producing different things according to the body, what body it has. According to what body it is having. So according to that body, according to that consciousness, the soul can produce such kind of thing. So that is the third understanding what we should have. So then the fourth understanding Krishna explains here, although the soul is amazing, but still people can't understand. In material world, like when Prabhupada went to Russia, there was one Professor Kotosky. So this Kotosky, what Prabhupada asked him is, what happens after the death, when one dies? He said, Swamiji, everything zero, nothing, only this life. After this life, there is no other life. So this is another foolishness. So what Prabhupada explains in the purport, unless one is austere, unless one is a devotee, one can't understand the subject matter of the soul. So basically we should know, unless one follows the regulative principles of devotional service, it is not so easy to understand the soul. Material world we see, there are libraries, they are full of so many varieties of books. But hardly I think there is anyone who can explain the science of the soul. And in material world we see there are so many different varieties of philosophies, and in the past 2000 years, so many philosophers, scientists, they are born. But in today's terms what we see, they want to be more atheistic. They don't want to accept the soul. Although in the Bible, Quran, they accept. In different religions, they accept. And we see in India, almost all people, they accept, yes, what is soul. They know the science of the soul. But in Western, the bringing up is such that there is no chance given to understand, yes, there is a soul in the body. So it is mentioned that one king was there, like in the 12th century. So I forgot the name of the king. So this king, he wanted to take out the reincarnation from Bible. So he completely changed that part of Bible. And he even said the women, they don't have soul in the body. So there was one king, what he said, women don't have soul, even other species, only man has soul. So in material world what we see, different people, they propagate different varieties of philosophies. What Prabhupada explains, this in the material world, because these people, they are not following any regulatory principles. So unless one is following the rules and regulation, and Prabhupada, he gives a very good understanding here, that Prabhupada explains, for sense gratification, they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without the self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. So in material world, whatever we do, everything is defeated. There is a saying in Bengali that everything will be tested at the time of death. Bhajan kar, sadhan kar. It is explained that antakale dekle hoy. That means at the time of death, everything will be judged. So in the Bhagavatam 5th canto 5.5.5, Rishabdev explains, there is one nice verse. Parabhavas tavad abodha jato yavanna jigyasata atma tattvam yavas kriyas tata tavad idam manai karmatmakam ena sharir baddha. Yavanna jigyasata atma tattvam. That means as long as one doesn't inquire in Atma Tattva, means Vedanta Sutra, the first Shloka 1.1.1 explains Athato Brahma Jigyasa, that at least in the human form of life, one has to inquire. And also Bhagavatam, many other Puranas, they explain that human life is very rare. This is one verse in the Bhagavatam. Labdhva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante. Labdhva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante means that very, very difficult human form of life is achieved after a long, after undergoing so many varieties of species of life, transmigrating. It is not that we achieve the human form of life so easily. So Rishabdev, while explaining to his son, what he explains, my dear boys, that in a life, whatever your achievements are there in your life, they are all fail, as long as you do not inquire into the self. Parabhavas tavad abodha jato yavanna jigyasata atma tattvam. So material world, what we see, there today people, they are just living a life, but hardly very few people they know yes, where they are heading. So it's very, very difficult to make people understand. Today's world, people more or less they are in a enjoying mood. What Prabhupada writes here, today's materialistic civilization, that people they are more or less in bodily consciousness of life, and they are not very much interested in the spiritual life. Also in the Bhagavatam, first canto, the question by sages, Sud Goswami explains, Prayana alpa avishya kalo asmin yuge jana manda su manda matayo manda bhagya hi upadata. So although in Kali Yuga people they are short lived, Prayana alpa avishya kalo asmin yuge jana manda means Prabhupada explains they are spiritually they are not much inclined, and because they are not much spiritually inclined, they have no taste for spiritual activities. So today what we see, in the olden time, if you see the British or American, so all places you will find there were churches. People used to go daily to churches. Then they started going Sundays. Nowadays they go only once a year. That is Christmas or Easter. So this way it is coming down and down. So here Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, what he explains, that Krishna, he explained to Arjuna that Atma is so astonishing that he explains this both combination of matter and the soul. He explains that Enam, what he explains, the soul and body, when they are combined, they can do amazing things. So Atma on its own, it has a different body in the spiritual world. It has a Siddha Deha. But in material world, when we get entangled, so the soul, according to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, this is a key verse in the 13th chapter. So Karanam Guna Sangasya, according to his consciousness, the material nature is like a mother. So the material nature, what she does, according to one's consciousness. In today's world also there are many companies. If you go to a hotel, so when you go to the hotel, they give you menu card. So then you go through the menu, you see so many things are there. Lunch, breakfast, dinner, so many varieties of stuff. So for you have to order, he will write down. Similarly, material nature, according to what consciousness we are carrying in this life. So it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam that present body we have got according to our past consciousness, and we will get the next body according to our present consciousness. So that is what is the science which will take us according to our consciousness. So Baldev Vidya Bhushan, he explains, that is the Swarup of the soul. He explains, if the soul goes into any body, the Swarup, the soul will remain the same. But the body, the Jiva, the soul, which whatever body it takes, so he explains it can do amazing things. It can do different varieties of activities. So this way, so what he explains, that he explains in the end that only when one goes to a devotee of the Lord, that one can understand yes, what is my true nature? Like when one comes to spiritual life, so the Guru sees the conditioning of the devotee, one who is aspiring. So then, according to his this thing, what is his capacity? So he will give him the service. Like when Prabhupada started this movement in America, so those who came, whatever it is, hippies or Western devotees, so according to their psychophysical nature, so Prabhupada he gave them services, and by the blessing of Prabhupada, they did a good job, exceptionally good job. Like for some he gave the job of editing, some he gave the job of proofreading, for some he gave the job of collecting funds. So this way what happens? So each one has his unique ability. So here Krishna is explaining the four aspects of the soul. So first he explains that some look on the soul as amazing. That is the first thing, is amazing means the soul, what I told as before, that is the soul, the first is his consciousness is amazing. Then again, some describe him as amazing. That means again, he is all pervading. The soul is moving, he is not static. Then again, the third, some hear him as amazing. That means the soul, he is so much amazing, he can do varieties of things, different varieties of things. And fourth category, Krishna again explains that even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Material world, some people. So because their consciousness doesn't allow them. Like one time Prabhupada, he was speaking in one country in Europe, and he was telling, if you don't take to spiritual life, next life you will become dogs and hogs. So one hippie, he got up and he said, Swamiji, what is the problem if I become a dog or hog? So Prabhupada said, okay, if you want to become a dog or hog, I have my blessings. But what we see, people literally they don't understand that after this human form of life, whatever species of life one gets, there is too much misery. It's like sometimes if you observe a animal in the winter, you just see from your window, you will get to see some birds, some kind of, they are struggling. Material world, what we see, there is complete struggle. And like if we are really seeing in material world, every day we can see people, material world, complete there is struggle. But one one is self-realized, God realized, even if he is any kind of body, like recently, just yesterday, I was at one place in Maharashtra, one remote village. So there is one woman, 108 years old, completely body is emaciated. And she only speaks Krishna's name, different names. Panduranga, Govinda, Vithala. Anyone goes to her, she will not, if I ask her, how are you? She will not answer. But just she speaks the names of Lord. Because now she is so much spiritually elevated. And I was curious how one looks after 108 years. And one lady, she is still living there. And she is very spiritually effulgent. And she is not taking anyone's help for going to toilet, bathroom and all. And always she is just taking the name of Lord. So that way her consciousness is completely pure. So here, so our understanding should be the soul. Here Krishna explains in four aspects how the soul is amazing. So Hare Krishna. So anyone has any comment on this amazing aspect of the soul? So okay.
In which way soul is described as kutastha?
Good.
In which way is described as kutastha? Immovable.
Yeah.
Moving. Refer to body, fits to the body, or
No, immovable. Immovable means the explanation is given that we can't change its this thing, dimension or its shape. So there are different ways.
kutastha practically means fixed, not placed. Kutastha.
Then in a higher understanding means that is whatever his consciousness is fixed, so that we can't change. That is one sense of understanding. Like someone is determined, you can't say him, you can't tell him anything. So determined means this is also one quality of the soul, that if I am bound to do something, even Brahma can't tell me this is wrong. Like Kutastha means there is one quality of the soul of doing something for which no one can change his sense of understanding. Like what we see in the Bhagavatam, like when Janmeja, he wanted to kill all the snakes. So that time Brahma, he came and he told, don't do that. So for one person's mistake, you can't kill all. So he was determined. So somehow he could understand. Similarly, Dhruva Maharaj, when the Yakshas, they killed his brother, so he was determined to finish off all the Yakshas. But somehow again, there Brahma intervened. So sometimes what we see, like a soul, when he enters a particular kind of body, so very difficult to change that consciousness. So one example is given of a scorpion. So scorpion, if you touch him, he will give you a sting. The snake, even if you feed the milk, it will give you the poison. So this is also one aspect, that it's very difficult to change. What we see, we are preaching so much. How many people they change? They don't. No, but in one sense, the mind is controlling the soul. The mind is, actually everything is happening because of the mind. Actually soul is not affected. Even the body is killed, burned and nothing happens to the soul. But the mind is, actually it is not beyond the soul. But we are being carried by our karmana, Bhagavad Gita Krishna explains, mana eva manushanam karana bandha moksha. The mind is the cause of liberation and freedom. So our mind is taking us. So according to the mind, so the soul also has to undergo with that body. So also the super soul is always there, but super soul and the soul is there, not affected. Like aeroplane, when aeroplane falls down, there's a black box, nothing happens. Although the aeroplane gets destroyed, but the soul, that black box is like a soul. So in our this thing also, the soul, it is not, even the soul goes to Yamaraj, there also he is getting in subtle body different kinds of punishment. But the mind is there, the mind is affected there. But the soul is not affected. So thank you very much. Bhagavad Gita